Welcome back! One grammatical point which teachers find difficult to tackle is the teaching of the present perfect tense. In the previous episode, there was mention of the grid as a tool in teaching the verb to be. True enough, complex grids can also be used to introduce the present perfect tense. To do this, you might begin by describing the typical work routine of an imaginary individual, like the one shown on the screen. Linda is a student. She wakes up at 4 a.m. to do her assignment. Then she takes a bath at 5, and she eats her breakfast at 5:30. At 6, she dresses up and soon after leaves for school. She arrives in school at 7 to be on time for the 7:20 flag ceremony. You can begin the lesson by using the grid to review tenses that have already been introduced. Then, you can use the grid as a takeoff to introduce the concept of the present perfect tense. You might also give the students a grid like the following and ask them to indicate, after each time, what Linda has done by that time. It's 5 a.m. Linda has done her homework. It's 6 a.m. Linda has eaten her breakfast. It's 7 a.m. What has Linda done? It's 8 a.m. In order to further practice the present perfect tense, you could vary the content by using the situation of an airline terminal. Begin by giving the students a grid with arrival times of flights from various places. Why don't we watch this pair of students as they portray the roles of a customer and a flight information officer?
Philippine Air Transport, good morning. May I help you?
Yes, good morning. Well, I would like to know if the first flight from Davao City has already arrived.
Yes, sir. It has just landed.
Okay. Then thank you.
Thank you for calling Philippine Air Transport.
Okay, bye-bye.
You too can make your students imagine that they work at the airlines. It's 11:30 and a customer calls and asks, "Has the flight from Zamboanga arrived yet?" They should answer, "Yes, it has already arrived," or "It hasn't arrived yet." After you practice a few questions with positive responses, present situations with negative responses. As always, at this point, you may decide on a formal explanation of the differences in the use of already and yet in negative and affirmative statements. With more advanced students, one culminating activity that could be used to contrast various verb tenses and to introduce the present perfect tense is the timeline grid. Begin by giving each student in the class a grid such as this one. The year is 1980. I was born. We moved to San Mateo. Details can then be given for 1981, 1986, 1990, 1994. Of course, the completion of the grid will provide practice in the past tense, initially. But you could use the information contained in the grid to practice a variety of verb tenses, just like the present perfect tense. Let me now take you to a classroom where I will try to teach the simple present perfect tense to the students. You will see the elicitation stage. Class, I have a question for you today. Who can guess what my age is? Let's see. Twyla?
Okay. I think you are 31.
Twyla, you're very kind. I'm a bit older than that. Who else can make a guess?
Well,
Yes, Jennifer.
I think you're 37.
Not quite 37. One more guess. Yes, Justine.
Ma'am, I think you're 36.
You're right. I'm 36. Do I look 36?
Yes.
I do?
Younger.
Well, I graduated 14 years ago from college. And I started to teach 1 year afterwards. How long have I taught? Who can guess? Or who can count?
Ma'am?
Yes, Paul.
For 13 years.
Right. I have taught for 13 years. Now, if I have taught for 13 years, since when have I taught? Since when have I taught? Yes, Lemuel.
Yes, ma'am. Since 1985.
Right, since 1985. Very good. How did I begin that lesson? I made the class guess what my age was. I made myself the focal point of the lesson. Of course, you can do that. Later on, I passed the focus on to my students. Was that contextualized teaching? Indeed it was. And this was shown in the manner the structure was elicited. I tried to do it in a realistic and meaningful way. What again is the function of the elicitation stage? The elicitation stage is the stage when the teacher introduces or presents the grammar in focus. It is the intention of this stage to elicit the correct structure from the students in a natural way. It is this stage where students find joy and fun in learning a language item in focus. Let's go back to the classroom and see the rest of the lesson. Now that you know certain things about me, it's my turn now to discover things about you. Now, let's see. How long have you attended this school? Therese?
For 2 years, ma'am.
For 2 years. Let's see. Diana, you have a watch on. How long have you had that watch?
Ma'am, since last year.
Since last year. Okay. I also heard that you have worked on a science project. Since when has this been? Joseph?
Ma'am, it's been for a week now.
For a week now. What did you notice this time? Remember, I started off this lesson by talking about myself. This time, I tried to involve the students by asking them questions about things which were real to them. Elicitation of the grammatical structures was therefore done unobtrusively. The students were not even aware that they were being taught a grammar point. This is the whole purpose of elicitation. Otherwise, students will simply be too conscious of grammatical mistakes, and this will ruin the ultimate objective of making our students use English in a natural way. The teaching of grammar can be enjoyable and spontaneous, provided the learners move in a stress-free environment. They should function as they are, thinking, sensible, and responsible individuals. The teacher is simply a backgrounder, a facilitator. Language is used in context and in meaningful situations. These are some of the things we have to remember then. Elicit from the students the grammatical structure as unobtrusively as possible. Learners should be able to move in a stress-free environment. The teacher plays the role of backgrounder or facilitator. Before we continue with our demonstration teaching and see what will happen next, let's pause for a few reminders. Stay tuned.